much for coming this afternoon. I appreciate that. And for those people that may be kind of thinking, okay, is this for me? Should I be sitting in this class this afternoon? I've had several people come up to me and tell me that they're a little concerned that it might get a little bit too technical for them. I will tell you right now that I will not be offended if anyone wants to walk out the door, but I will also tell you that whether you're beginning, intermediate, advanced, I think that everyone will find a little bit of something for you in today's presentation. And here are some of the new things that you can be looking forward to in 2007. First of all, Outlook 2007 with Business Contact Manager comes with what we call a dashboard. So you have an opportunity to see all of your information on one screen. So you can view customer information, you can get information and metrics all on one page. So that's brand new. That did not exist with 2003. You're also able to customize a lot of forms and fields that you were not able to do before. And I will tell you, I have customized a lot of forms, like the contact forms for my clients in 2003. And I think unless you knew a little bit about programming, it was very much of a challenge. In 2007, they truly have made it much easier, and I'm going to show you that this afternoon. One of the other things that they've done is they've allowed you to export a lot of your data out of the Business Contact Manager into an Excel report, 2007. You can also now create an entire marketing campaign with Business Contact Manager and track all of the statistics. There's also several mailing list tools for those of you thinking about doing a newsletter, or maybe you already have a newsletter. You can, for example, filter a lot of your data by either customer or prospect data, zip code, and a lot of different ways. There's about 20 different ways you can filter it. The other great thing, and this is what I love about Business Contact Manager, is that you can track the communications history that you have with a client. So if you want to know all of the emails that you've sent to that customer, any appointments, any notes, a phone log, you can track all of that in one place, and I will also show you an example of that. And then last but not least, it also integrates with Publisher 2007. So you're able to, develop a publication and email it out through the Business Contact Manager. See a show of hands of the number of people that are currently using Outlook 2007. Okay, a few. Great. And how about 2003? Wow, this is amazing. Okay, great. With Outlook, before the Business Contact Manager portion of Outlook existed, there was basic things that you could do. You could track customer name, phone number, address, multiple phone numbers, emails, and things like that. You could add some notes. In 2003, Microsoft's version came out with a Business Contact Manager, which I did not use because I felt that it was a little still too buggy. So I was very excited when Microsoft came out with 2007. They had spent a lot of time working on the Business Contact Manager. And my personal opinion is that the Business Contact Manager portion of Outlook 2007 falls somewhere in between Outlook and ACT. So I'm not going to talk about ACT because I'm not a specialist in it, but I know enough about it and what its capabilities are. So when you're thinking about what do I want to get out of the system, you want to be thinking about the future. What do you want to do with all of that data that you're mining? So you go out and you give a presentation and you capture potential leads, prospects that might turn into your client someday. You don't want to lose that data. You go to a networking meeting and you come home with the business cards or back to your office. What do you do with that information? That information can sometimes turn into gold, and we don't want to miss out on opportunities. So think about, what is it? How do you want to use that information? Think about it as this. If you create an account, you probably have multiple people that you want to attach to that account. An account, you can have one account for a company and then have multiple people attached, okay? The place that you're going to create those contacts for the account is in the Business Contact Manager part of Outlook. Create yourself a company account and then create all of the individual business contacts of that account, and then we're going to link them. Interesting story, I'll just tell you this briefly. I track in my QuickBooks, there's a field called Type, I believe, that you can modify to track where your clients came from. And I probably have 30 or 40 different types in that database. And I hired as a consultant to me several years ago a new bookkeeper. And before she had really analyzed my data, the first thing that she told me was that I needed to stop advertising in the Yellow Pages because I was wasting too much money. And I happened to know from a report that I could run from my QuickBooks that 29% of my business in the last 2 years came from the Yellow Pages. So had I listened to my accountant who saw me spending hundreds of dollars a month on Yellow Pages advertising, you know, I had the data to back it up. And I could say, you know, not a very smart decision, and I'll tell you what, that was the only day she worked for me. Because I knew the data that was in our system. You know, and also it makes, being able to track your information, it also makes you look very organized. I have stories of salespeople that I have worked with that were generating maybe $400,000 in sales a year, went to $1 million+ in sales in a very short amount of time just because they had their information organized and they could access it. Okay, I worked with a closet company last year. They called me in. They are in the state of Washington, and they wanted to do a mailing, okay? Get Organized Month was coming up. They wanted to do a mailing, and their data existed in about 5 different systems. And they wanted to know how they were going to pull it all together. Well, doing some of the simple things that I'm showing you today, you would be able to pull it together much quicker if it was all in one place. So that's why you have to decide, what system am I going to put it into? How am I going to categorize it? How am I going to follow it up? How am I going to follow up? And how am I going to use it as a system? There is about a list of about 20 predefined categories that come with the software. And in my personal opinion, they are useless. So the first thing that I do when I'm working with a client is I delete them. And we start from scratch. And we build categories that relate to the individual's personal or work lives or both. So you can have one contact but be in multiple categories. So if I was to go out right now and just show you the NAPO category, there's Sandy's name right there. Now, that doesn't mean that if I scroll down a little bit further and I'm seeing Sandy's name again in that category, Sandy's name does not exist twice in my database. It's just that I'm displaying it in 2 different groups. And I know that sometimes there's a little bit of confusion about that. You're just showing it in different groups. All right, so now what I want to talk about next is the use of flags to flag your data. They are a really great way to remind yourself to follow up with maybe a prospect or maybe even a client. Maybe you go on site and the client says, you know, I'd love to schedule another appointment, but you know, right now is not good. Check with me in a few weeks. Well, instead of putting, you know, that as a task on your task pad, you can literally just do it from inside of a contact and just flag it so that then you can sort your data using the flags later on. If you're categorizing your data, is there a really quick and simple way to automatically send all of that information to that group of people without putting them into a distribution list. So here's what I'm going to show you. Using the EC Garage example that I have right here, if I click on it to highlight it, there's a button up here that says New Message to Contact. If I click on this, it gives me this little button that says this action will apply to everyone in the list, and that's fine. And then it's going to tell me that some don't have email addresses, and so that's fine again. Now guess what? It has just put everyone from that category into an email. I didn't even have to create a distribution list. This is so simple. Now, the one thing that I will tell you, if you do it this way, Outlook does automatically put all of those names into the To field, and please, please, please do not leave them there. Actually cut them and paste them into the BCC field. You do not want to be sharing this information with other people. I don't care what kind of a system it is. People don't want to see their name getting out on lists where people can then begin to spam them. So that is just so important to do. Always remember to use the BCC field. I alluded earlier to that notes field and that comments field, the information that you can track. You know, I think that we all are held to a certain level of professionalism with our clients, and they think, oh, you guys are all so organized. And, quite honestly, we can't remember everything. You've got to get it into a system. So you want to really look organized to your clients and to your prospects.